Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Bensalem Township Council meeting for Monday evening, August 10th, 2026. I would ask that everyone stand for the opening of the meeting with a moment of silent meditation or prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Thank you. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll just go around the room here, real quick introductions. Standing in for Deb McBreen, we have Deb South. Township Engineer, which is our Executive Secretary. Township Engineer Phil Wersta, Councilman Joe Knowles, Councilman Joe Wenzel, myself, Ed Tokmajian, Councilman Sloan, and Councilman Kisselback. And then down there at the far end, we have our solicitor, Joe Pizzo, and Mayor DiGirolamo may be showing up a little late this evening. I think that does it. I'll move to public comment limited to agenda items only. If you're here this evening for anything outside of agenda items, I would simply just ask you if you could hold off for the other public comment, which is agenda number 8. Anything specific to the agenda items, there isn't a whole heck of a lot on the agenda this evening. Okay. All right, I'll close that portion of public comment. Move to agenda number 4, the approval of council meetings for the meeting date July 13th, 2026. Gentlemen, have you had a chance to review? And if so, was there any additions, corrections on those minutes? And if not, a motion will be in order to accept and approve.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of July 13th, 2026 as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, there's a motion and second, and all in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstain? Okay. Deb, those are approved. Move to agenda number 5, the consideration of signing a developer agreement for JRI CFA LLC for the Chick-Fil-A down there at 1525 Street Road, tax parcel 02-071-242-001. Mr. Pizzo, is this yours?
Yes. As council is aware, land development was previously granted for the Chick-Fil-A on Street Road. That's part of the center there that includes the Texas Roadhouse. The land development is to add additional canopies, curbing, striping, and the like for an expanded drive-through to serve the restaurant. The developers' agreements were prepared by our office. The necessary funds and supporting documents have been submitted by Chick-Fil-A. They're ready to get underway. All that's remaining is council's approval of these developers' agreements. They are in a form acceptable for your consideration and signature this evening.
Thank you so much. Any questions, comments from council?
If you're ready, I'll put down a formal motion to approve the consideration of the developers agreement for CRI, CFA, Limited Chick-Fil-A.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second to approve. Any questions on the motion? If not, all in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay. Those are approved, Mr. Pizzo.
Thank you.
We'll move to agenda number 6, the consideration of a resolution for Act number 537, the PA Sewage Facilities Act, plan revision for new land development of a parcel of land identified as 2600 State Road. Mr. Pizzo, is this one also yours?
Yes,
Okay.
and for both items 6 and 7, which will be considered separately, but the explanation for both is the same. In both cases, these are proposed forms of resolution approving an amendment to the township's sewage facilities plan, also referred to as an Act 537 plan. What's necessary in both cases, these are projects that were previously approved upon the condition, among other things, that the necessary water, sewer, highway occupancy permits and the like are secured by the developer. In this case, the developers have gone to both the County Water and Sewer Authority and the Philadelphia Water Department, who are the two entities that take care of the sanitary sewage from the township. Both entities have certified that the necessary capacity is available in the transmission facilities as well as the treatment facilities. And so with those certifications, the state requires the council's approval of the amendment to the 537 plan so that they can move forward with both projects. The resolutions are in a form as required by the State Department of Environmental Protection and are in a form acceptable for your consideration and approval this evening. The first of the two, item number 6, is for a proposed warehouse on 2600 State Road, property of Barbara Rybas. Council may recall this as the gypsum site that was the area that was previously subject to an application and approval by Johnson Warehousing. Johnson decided not to move forward, but the owner of the property, Barbara Rybas, has decided to move forward with those approved plans. Again, the 537 is in a form acceptable for your consideration this evening.
Mr. Pizzo, is that why this is coming before us about 4 years after the land development was approved?
Yes, there was a period of time with the transition from Johnson to Rybas. There were certain conditions attached to the Johnson approval that Rybas took exception to. We went through an appeal process with the court. The court entered an order dictating what what would and wouldn't be part of the approval. The building is largely the same as it was applied for by Johnson, and the requirement that the township had imposed that the extension of Renaissance Boulevard that was intended to cross this property will in fact be constructed by Rybas. That was really the point of contention during the appeal.
Okay. Thank you.
Certainly.
You good with that? Mr. Pizzo, I know traditionally we don't always go to public comment for these. I mean, is that required for these Act 537s?
It is not.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll start with the first one, agenda number 6 for the 2600 State Road. Any other questions from council? If not, I would ask for a motion to accept and adopt.
I will make a motion that we approve the resolution for Act Number 537, PA Sewage Facilities Act, plan revision for new land development of a parcel of land identified as 2600 State Road.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and second to approve. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay.
I would note parenthetically, Mr. Tokmajian, in response to your question of a moment ago, that while it isn't required, public did have an opportunity to comment, as this is an agenda item, and therefore someone could have come up during that period of time.
Got it. Thank you. You're okay with it?
Yeah, I did vote yes, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
all right, no problem.
Sorry.
No problem at all.
I was kind of soft-spoken.
It's okay, no problem. This one. Agenda number 7, consideration of a resolution for Act Number 537, same thing, PA Sewage Facilities Act, for the land development of a parcel of land identified at 1601 State Road, Ryn Estates, which you actually which we recently saw here over less than, I think, the 2 meetings ago or something. Any questions, any further questions from council on this? If none, motion will be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the consideration of resolution for Act Number 537, PA Sewage Facilities Act, for the new land development of parcel of land identified as 1601 State Road, Ryn Estates.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? That's also approved. Mr. Pizzo, both of them are approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Next agenda number 8 is public comment. I see a number of folks here in the audience, so if you would like to speak for public comment, I would ask you to please come up to the podium. I'd also ask to please provide your name and address. Natasha.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Natasha. I live at 2047 Hansel Drive. I'm just here to ask, where are we with the plans to fix the retention pond? I heard that things were going to get done soon, but there's no timeline, so.
Actually, I invited Mrs. Khan to the meeting, and maybe, would you be able to speak to that? 'Cause I know that there's some, and I know the mayor's not here, the director of administration is not here, he's on vacation, and that's why I asked Mrs. Khan to kind of, to come in to speak. I know we have since initiated some design towards looking at a fix for that. Would you mind coming up? Please.
Hi, I'm Nicole Kahn. I work for the Office of the Township Engineer. I would say that tomorrow morning we are having a meeting, myself and the other applicant's engineer, in order to figure out what would be a final approach towards managing the backside of Hansel Drive on the hub side of the property, or what used to be the old Armstrong School. We're in a good spot. I would love to be able to go into detail, but until we put something down that I feel is most appropriate, because there's a couple different techniques we're looking at.
Okay.
It's not just one thing. It would be a couple different things that would be interim stopgaps to handle what is happening, the volume of water that's affecting the backside of Hansel Drive.
Yep.
While we address what would be the future land development that we hope, but this would help mitigate some of the concerns that the residents are seeing. And again, the things that are being seen are not just things that Natasha's making up. They're credible threats to their properties, we understand. But the applicant, owner, engineer is very willing to come forward with a solution that we come up with together, because we've been able to be out here. They're not here every day to understand what happens on the backside of the house. So I've been supplying either pictures of days that we have rain, days that we don't, so we can understand what's happening with the base flow, what's coming from the lot itself, from adjacent to Street Road, things that will make an impact as to how much water gets into the culvert that heads under Natasha's home out to Hansel Drive.
Got
So,
it. Okay.
Okay.
Do we have an ETA as far as when you think we'll be able to finalize the design?
within no more than 2 weeks, they would like to see somebody out there starting active construction.
Okay. And then that's also going to be pending putting it through building and planning, having them review and sign off on it too, correct?
Yes, and I've assured, and working with Director Ken Farrell's office, we would make sure to have that done immediately, would not wait.
Okay.
So,
and I appreciate the work that you've done since the residents have come up. Also, did the current owner, I understand that for sale sign went on the property, but what you're saying is that the current owner of that property is amenable to helping support, I'm assuming financially, regarding putting a fix into place.
absolutely.
Okay,
That's not going to be the burden of the township. It would be currently on them to be able to manage their side of the line. That's what the ask was. Manage your side of the line until you come through with the development.
Yep.
So we can help these people to have, sanity.
And how, just in terms of an ETA for the developer to have a crew on site, let's just say it's 2 weeks to finalize some sort of plan, maybe a few more days for building and planning to look at it. How long do you think, let me ask you this, did the owner of the property give us an idea as far as how quickly he can have a crew there to start that work? And then, sorry, second to that question is, Will we have, I'm assuming and I'm hoping that you'll have some oversight onto that project to make sure it's done correctly?
Absolutely. So one, we would review the plan to make sure that we believe that it would be the proper plan for, again, the location. Everything needs to be right-sized. So our engineers have been looking to see what we do to the basin, how we build the basin up on the one side, how do we, address the channel that heads to the back of Natasha's property. We've been really diving in on our side before we met with the applicant engineer, just to make sure that we closed whatever concerns we had and brought them to his attention so they can address it.
Great.
Second thing is that they would like to be out as soon as possible. I know that they had gone to Director Farrell as well as John Chakowski last week saying that they were ready to mobilize, but we needed to have this final meeting hopefully tomorrow and the remainder of this week till we can get the actual plan, get it reviewed, and then start that process to see construction before the end of the summer.
Got it.
That's the plan.
Particularly before the bad weather starts hitting.
Yes, as you know, the hydrologic cycle is a problem that we have, in addition to what's happening on the backside of the property being undeveloped and unmanaged.
Yeah, okay. Real quick, I'll just point to anybody else, any other questions?
Yes, you said there's several problems reoccurring in this adjacent property. What if the township takes the majority of the solution, but yet there's another percentage left, and it has nothing to do with the actual property, it has something to do with another aspect of the flooding, either from Street Road or from the Giant or something like that. Who's going to take the responsibility for that? How are we going to address that, I should say?
Well, I think I've explained to, very openly, I've explained to Natasha and the residents of Hansel Drive that they are at a confluence point between the stream as well as being, landlocked between Street Road, Humeville Road, which are two state highways that have their own drainage systems. The township has our own drainage system. There's a point at which we need to address one thing at a time. If I can pull the backside of the hub property off from the Hansel Drive drainage system, that's one step in the right direction. The township would still probably need to do another type of drainage improvements project on Hansel Drive itself, which would be separate and independent of what's happening on the hub property. We could also go to PennDOT as well because their water is influencing what's occurring on Hansel Drive. So there are a couple different things that are happening at that location, and we are going to do our office, and I know you guys want to see this get done. We want to see action occur to create relief.
So you're managing current stopgaps, but you just talked about additional work that needs to be done on Hansel Drive. Is that something that WK2 is taking the lead on?
Yes, I mean, I have looked into the problem. I have not designed a drainage system to alleviate Hansel Drive. And again, there is the backside of what's coming from Armstrong's property. We also have the drainage system itself. Hansel Drive is only has two inlets to service Hansel Drive that has that horizontal curve that comes around, Humeville Road as well as what is coming down from Street Road. So, and it all wants to come right in front of Natasha's home to enter into the vault system that heads to Wendy's. That Wendy's system then takes a hard right and heads over to, underneath Street Road. There are a lot of things that are happening in that area of the township. So as I, started saying, yes, we have looked into it. I can get something on plan that would address what's occurring on Hansel Drive itself, but it was not part of what I was tasked to do for this, to work with the applicant engineer.
So my concern here is that we had funding that we were told was allocated to correct the Hansel Drive portion, not what the developer was doing, what the township was going to fund back in 2021. That work was never done. No work was done there. And what Ms. Khan is talking about is now dealing with the developer side of the property, not what the township is responsible for.
Understood.
If I could answer that just real
Please.
quick to let you know,
Yeah.
is that in 2022, when, we got involved, to be able to know today why Hansel Drive behaves and operates, even on the developer side or even on the front side of Hansel Drive, is because the township gave us the opportunity to investigate what was happening, to be able to have solutions, to be able to understand what was happening, because it's not, like, as I said, just one thing. It's a couple different layers that are attached to it. So the reason why I can speak about this right now the way that I can is because for the last 4 years that I did investigate, from the money that was spent previously to investigate and figure out what would be causing the problem to Natasha, and in 2021 when she did arrive and say, my house is under 11 feet of water, I need help, the money was spent in order to figure out where we were at and what would be causing her problems.
I was under the impression that no money was spent. That's what we were told by the Director of Administration today. And we were there in 2021, and we advocated for funding to address this issue. We were told, and we were we specifically asked at that 2021 budget meeting to make sure that Hansel Drive was included in that.
But there was no money allocated to it, according to what was put out on the actual websites, on the budget, on the meeting that was held here. Our Hansel Drive was
Right.
brought up, but we were told we had to wait for the developer to make a move. It's been 5 years, he's not making a move. clearly.
No, I agree. And I think this is,
Snowball at this point.
yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad that we're at least finding some way to get some temporary relief for you all, and I'm very grateful for the work that you're doing on that. My concern is that that's not going to solve all the problems. It'll help, but it won't solve the problem. And we were,
The problem is moving, right? But we can't do that either.
Yeah.
But me and Nicole have been communicating
Okay.
since 2022, and I specifically told her what the problems are. Nothing's changed. The problems are the same. The only problem is that is getting bigger.
sure,
The overgrowth is getting bigger. The water mitigation is getting worse. There's no water mitigation. It's coming into our yards, into our homes. And that's coming from both sides. I'm getting it from both sides. So if we could
Right.
put more drains, if we could do this, if we could do that. I can't tell you, I'm not an engineer, that that's gonna solve all of our problems, but I also spent over $100,000 fixing my house, which includes water management in that house, waterproofing, okay? That can only do so much, but I need the rest of it to work.
Absolutely.
And I can't tell you, yes, it's definitely going to work. Nobody can say anything, right? But at least we can say that, you guys can say that you tried, that something was done to be proactive and to try
Yeah.
and mitigate all these problems that have been going on for years. It's not something that happened overnight.
completely agree.
Just
Well, what Jesse's saying is, we want to resolve the problem 100%.
100%, and I appreciate that, and I agree. I would love it. I would love all the problems to be solved right now. But we don't know that because the land is constantly changing, and it's changing even more if nothing gets done to fix what's there.
Right.
Because the land has already changed. Nicole can tell you, there's more wetlands back there now.
Right.
Why? Because nothing's ever been done, nothing's ever been.
Well, because the site is not been developed, right? Again, a lot of the things that we see in Bensalem are developed parcels of land where it has a stormwater basin or has infrastructure to support the land development.
Yep.
In this case, what occurred behind, it has grown, and that, we're working.
Yep.
We are working to help alleviate what's happening, and that I promise you that we have a solution.
Natasha, rest assured, as you can see, over the 45 days, we've made progress. And we will make sure that we continue to follow up to ensure that that gets done. I think Nicole knows that. And we're all aligned in terms of the administration will ensure that that work gets done. The second piece of it is, and Councilman Sloan, as you know, we've been talking to proactively, and John's not here, so.
Yeah.
But we have been talking to him about what our funding will look like for additional stormwater management across this township. And we can certainly make sure that we include that second piece of water running from Humeville and Street into Hansel as part of that funding when we look at the budget this year.
Yep.
And I agree with your approach. Instead of getting engineering after engineering after engineering for several projects, do the engineering, do the project, and finish it up and see where we are. I agree with what you're doing, 100%.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there, I just have one question. So behind my house, and this is something we've discussed with you guys a million times, I've got poison oak growing through my fence. That's actually broken my fence at this point. Is that part of what's going to be, I know you can't tell me too much information about it, but is there something that's going to at least clean up
I can.
my fence
If
line?
you tell me it's okay to do that, yes.
Yes, because it's breaking my fence.
Then
My
that's
fence
fine.
is broken.
Then that's
Yep.
fine.
Yep,
And
let's
so-
talk to the owners about it.
Yep.
Yep.
And-
But just know that we are not waiting for this property to get developed at this point. That's not the answer. So-
No, I know
so-
it's
so-
not.
So
That's
to
why
your
I came
point,
to you guys
to your
again.
point, we're holding the owners of that property responsible, so.
Which should have been done back in '21, but anyway, we can't go backwards.
Right.
We're moving forward.
Yes.
We
This
are.
is what I want to know, and I
Yep.
want to know how quickly it's going to move forward.
And at least I asked that question, you got some sort of ETA, and we'll certainly keep them accountable to that.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm good cop, bad cop. So I'm Colleen from 2032 Hansel Drive. So you keep referencing the monies, but like it was in an article this past week or the week too, but the funds have been moved multiple times and to your general fund, so why are the monies not there to fix this issue?
Colleen, it's a good question.
And the mayor's not here, and he makes the decisions for this council, so where's the money?
It's a good question, and it's certainly something that we are posing to the administration.
And then I also want to know, it was also reported that there was a grant applied for from the township. So who applied for that grant? If you have nothing to do with if you have nothing to do with the property, which we were told at the last council meeting.
So the administration does apply for the grants.
What would you need a grant for?
The grant for that property in question was
I couldn't-
applied by the county. That wasn't applied by the township.
I couldn't
The-
apply
the
for a
town-
grant
The county
on
applied
my
for
neighbor's
that, not the
property.
Oh, hold
township.
on. Mr. President, do you want to respond?
Well, just consistent with what Mr., excuse me, with what Mr. Wenzel is saying. A RACP, and I always forget what
Is it county?
but a state grant was applied for and awarded to that site for infrastructure work. It was not applied for by the township, however. It was applied for through the County Redevelopment Authority, I believe, on behalf of the developer, and it was awarded by the state. Township had nothing to do with that. Those are state funds that were awarded through the county RDA.
So nothing's been
And I
developed. for
believe they
those
did get
funds.
rejected. I don't
And
think they were
regarding
approved.
the ARPA funds, and I believe the Director of Administration provided to council a breakdown of how those funds were spent and where they were spent during 2024 and 2025. And they were spent on drainage problems throughout the township, flooding problems throughout the township. And one of the requirements of the ARPA program, at least as it was explained to me, was that the money couldn't be spent on the private property, couldn't be spent on the Armstrong. Township had to spend it on township facilities. So the projects, Grandview, Glendale, Michael Drive, Mark Circle, Ogden Avenue, Pasqualone Boulevard, all of those projects that were done by the township over the last 2 years were done using the ARPA funds. That's my understanding, and I believe that's consistent with what the Director of Administration explained to the Council President.
Yeah,
So I'll be assuming in the 2027 budget, we will have a name of Hansel Drive on that budget?
I have already started talking to the Director of Administration in terms of funding, particularly including stormwater management.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Cooper. I live at 2469 Williamson Court in Springdale. I've lived there for 27 years. We've been in Bensalem for 45 years. And I had never had a rodent problem before, ever. About 5 or 6 weeks ago, my neighbor told me that she saw rats in her backyard, right next door to me.
and I thought she was crazy. I mean, I've seen mice, but never rats. And I pulled up my shade, and there's a rat just walking across my backyard. I've been informed that we've had rat infestation because last year Pasqualone was dug up for sewer work, and when the people were finished for the night, they didn't put metal plates down, they put tarp down. So the rats decided that they were coming up, and they frequented our neighborhood. I contacted Building and Planning, and I also contacted the Board of Health. I sent information to the Board of Health about untended easements, because we also heard that besides bird feeders, which we've all taken down, if the easements aren't mowed and maintained, that's a breeding ground for rats. So I contacted them with the addresses, and the people have rectified the problem, because Board of Health has been out to see us 3 separate times, come into our backyards, told us what we have to do, what we're doing correctly, what others need to do, and I've contacted most of my neighbors on Williamson Court. Many of my neighbors have also had to contact their exterminators to place rat boxes in their backyards, which to me sounds disgusting, but we've done it. My exterminator was out yesterday, and he opened the box and he said, "Oh, there's no poison in here, so they've been in your box. They've been in all the other boxes, and hopefully they will all die." I would be very happy. I do love animals, but not rats. Yeah. The situation is not acceptable at all. Besides the health problem, there's children that like to play in their backyards, and they can't play in their backyards if there's rodents back there. I want to thank you for your time, and also say I find it very, it's a coincidence that right now you have papers outside for the board meeting tonight telling us what to do about the rats. Where has everybody been for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks that they're here? And my exterminator also told me that they will be back in the winter, because that's when they really come around. So I would appreciate it if the township would really do something about this,
Thank you.
because it skeeves me out.
Understood.
Hi, my name's Carol Termini. I live at 5748 Corsair Court, Bensalem. I've lived here for 41 plus years. Same problem that she's having right now. Last summer, when they opened up the sewer pipes in Pasqualone, it's exactly what they did. They left them open. The rats that lived in there infested our neighborhood. I know that for a fact, which was told to me by the Board of Health as well, that that's exactly where they came from. We noticed holes in our yard last summer. We thought that they were coming from rabbits. We didn't think they were rats. We've never had rats back there. And came fall, we were leaving to go out. We threw a shade up in our backyard. Yes, I was feeding birds at the time. I've been feeding birds back there for 25 years at least. Never had a problem. My backyard was covered, 30 to 40 rats running around my yard, eating the birdseed. Needless to say, I freaked out. Called a couple of my neighbors. I told them we have a serious problem back here. I don't know what is going on. So we had an exterminator come out, kind of settled everything down. Once we took the feeders down, put them in a trash can, got rid of them. One dove across, hit my husband straight in the head. Haven't had bird feeders up since then. So we have back there now, 4 traps in our yard. We have killed numerous rats in our yard. We have nothing back there that these rats want. My backyard, the Board of Health has been out. She said, you have nothing back here. They're coming from my adjoining neighbors behind me, on the side of me. They're digging holes every night, coming into my yard. We have them on video. My husband has set up 4 cameras out back. We watch them in the yard. I let the dog out one night, 2 ran right in front of me. They're all over the town. They're all over the valley. More people I talk to, they all say yes, that they have seen rats. Numerous people. Lexus Court is infested with them. They're seeing them during the day. So people, the township want to say there's no infestation. When you see them during the day, that's an infestation. There are people just seeing them. There is a guy on Alexis who I know for a fact is trapping numerous ones. Some of them feel they don't want to hurt the rats, so they're taking them down to the bridge by Humeville Road, and that's where they're leaving them. Can't do that. They're going to come right back to where they came from. They've got to be over a mile away. People still have bird feeders up. You walk around, you tell people. They look at you. Well, I haven't seen any. Most of them say they haven't seen any because they have chain link fences. They have no lights in their yard at night. They open the door, they let their dog out. They open the door and bring their dog back in. They never walk outside. We, in fact, have lights throughout our backyard, and we see exactly what's going on out there. So we're on top of it. We're trying to do everything that we can. The township has to take some responsibility for this. Whoever they hired who did this work back there should have been more cautious about it. They had to know if they do this for a living that this is what's going to happen. You lease open sewer pipes up, rats are going to come out of them. So now we get the burden of having to clean this up. Exactly what the woman before me just said. It's very coincidental that on Facebook today, all of a sudden, Bensalem Township decides they're going to put this big post out about rats in our neighborhood. They won't use the word infestation. It's an infestation back there. When you're killing numerous rats and you're seeing them during the day, it's infestation. Board of Health has been out numerous times. She has her hands full. She said she doesn't know what to do. She needs word of mouth. She needs people that are going to work with her to try to get this matter cleaned up. She also stated if we don't get this matter cleaned up ASAP, what's going to happen is they're going to breed during the winter, and next summer we're going to have double the amount of rats back there. They're traveling, so they're going into adjoining neighborhoods now. They're not just in our neighborhood, but they're going other places. I've been told that the side of Valley School, they're all over Valley School. Somebody sent me a message on Messenger, and they said, tell the Board of Health to go to Valley School. They're all over the side of Valley School. Somebody posted today that the old Wood River Village, I forget what it's called now, but they said they have them all over down there as well. So with that being said, we're just trying to ask the township for some kind of help, maybe drop some black boxes in the easements, try to help us. We have, like I said, numerous traps back there. We have killed numerous rats back there. We have a black box back there. The problem is these rats are smart, and they know what to look for, and they'll walk right by the bait and just not even go after them now. So we don't know what to do. We came here tonight to ask for help. So.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cecilia Cam. I live at 2482 Williamson Court. I have not seen them, but I've certainly heard all of the stories about these rats, okay? 44 years, never saw a rat. I mean, a mice, a little field mice, yes, but a rat, never. So I guess my question is, this is not the first time you've heard of this problem, correct? Correct? How many people are here regarding the rat situation? Okay, that's a pretty good showing, right? So I guess my question is, what can you do? What can you do? Because honestly, I let my dog out and I'm afraid. I won't go outside at night because of this. I will not set foot out in my backyard. I'm doing everything I can. I make sure I pick up all my dog's droppings because I know that when your dog leaves a dropping, that attracts the rats. And that's another big problem because if you're not picking up after your dog in your backyard every time that dog goes, you're gonna invite the rats in. And the same goes for when you walk your dogs through the neighborhood, and we have a ton of dogs in Springdale. I know you've knocked on doors in Springdale. You know how many dogs are there. People are walking around, they're walking their dogs. I would say 90% of the people that do walk their dogs pick up the droppings. But there are people who do not. And that has got to stop, because we have to, it has to be a joint effort. The residents have to do their share, and believe me, I know these people are doing their share. But we need to know what you can do. What can you do to help us with this issue?
Sure.
I got my little sign.
Listen to all the rest of it first.
I just,
Okay.
it's very upsetting and it's very
Yes, sir.
scary. And the older you get, the scarier this becomes. Okay?
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Christy Repko. I live on Williamson Court as well. I'm not prepared. I didn't have a whole lot of bullet points here. But the first I knew of this was in July. And I thought I had a vole that was in the yard. I saw the little tunnels. I thought it was a vole. I mentioned it to my neighbor. My neighbor texted me the next day saying, that's a rat. And lots of expletives later in my text, I was grossed out and was like, I need to do something about that. Luckily, I found an exterminator that would come out, and he came out on the weekend for me and everything, which I was so grateful. So that was beginning of July, and within 2 to 3 weeks, he has 2 bait boxes in my yard, and within 2 to 3 weeks, one of them was half gone and the other ones were completely gone. So clearly they're being eaten. The most I had seen at some point was 6, but if you see 6, you know there's more around. My issue was that I didn't know there was a problem until I saw them. So how do you convince, everybody needs to know, unless everybody is doing something, there's still gonna be a problem. Everyone has to be informed, everyone has to be it, and putting this out to the people who already know today because they're here isn't the answer. It is door to door, it is sending stuff out, it is blasting the entire area so that everybody is taking care of it at the same time. If you have pockets of people that are doing something, it's only going to be solved in those pockets of people. I mean, luckily, I don't have any right now, but I will be very curious to see what my exterminator says when he comes back out for the ones that he's refilled, to see if those have also been eaten. But, I mean, I am horrified by dead things. I'm horrified that I'm so afraid to go out in my yard. I shouldn't be so afraid to walk outside and see something scurrying in front of me and, like, you know, trying to do weed whacking out there the one day and had just screaming bloody murder because one's running in front of me. Like, I can't handle that, and I shouldn't be afraid to have to go out and see that in my yard. The Board of Health woman came by. I spoke to her last week, and she said I'm doing all the right things. I, again, was a bird feeder. All of those have gone in. There's no more feed out. Anything that fell on the ground, I have dug up and put topsoil down. Anything I couldn't has, like, ceramic tiles on top of it. I have done whatever I could to make it difficult for them. I've filled all the holes. She's telling me I have done all the right things. But what I'm curious of is this can't be the first time it happens in neighborhoods, and so I hope that the township will look into what has been done in other neighborhoods, how to help us out so that we're not all taking on this burden by ourselves, and how to get the word out there so that everybody knows. Like I said, if everybody's doing it, we have a chance, but if it's just pockets of people doing it, we don't have a chance. So we need help. I don't want to be grossed out in my yard anymore, so thank you.
Thank you.
We're not here for the rats, we're here for the drainage issues.
Oh, okay. Well, before we hold on a sec. I just want to make sure that, you don't mind holding, is there anybody else for the rat situation? Did you want to speak? Do you want to speak?
Sure.
Sorry, I don't mean to, I want to address the rat issue, if you don't mind, please, first. Yeah. Yeah, and whatever you do, just don't leave, or we want to hear you. I just want to make sure that I get everybody up for the rat issue first. Because we have some folks here that we can speak to it, and then I was going to remark to it too as well. So just hang tight, okay? If you don't mind.
My name
Sir?
is Mark Cooper. I live at 2469 Williamson Court. Michelle is my wife. The concern that I have is all of us, all of the residents that are dealing with this, are taking money out of their pockets at $20 a clip to take care of this. It's not fair, especially the lady on Corsair Court. If she's got 30 or 40 rats and she needs 5 or 6 traps, that's $100 a pop. It's not right. We shouldn't have to deal with this. The other thing is, if you're going to have a sewer issue or a construction, then part of that deal that you just approved should have something in it that says they are responsible for all of the rat issues that may develop or any kind of issue that develops. If Pasqualone had been handled properly, we probably wouldn't be talking to you people today. It's just not right. We pay our taxes no different than anybody else. We expect service. We don't get service, then you guys are out of a job and we're going to find somebody that's going to do it. That's the American way. So all I'm asking is figure out what you can do, and if you have to reimburse, it only costs us $40 so far. But that woman over there, she's probably going to spend hundreds, maybe even $1,000, and that comes out of their pockets, and that takes away from them paying taxes to support this township. And it's not right. So that's my.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Morris, and I live at 5706 Arcadia Court. Actually, I used to live there with my mother. She passed away, and I now own her home. And as a teacher, first thing that came to mind was the emperor has no clothes. We've been talking about this is an infestation, and people are telling us it's not. And in fact, you've even said that this is an uptick in a few areas. That's a disgrace to say that, as though none of us are telling you what we see. That's a disgrace. We're all supposed to pretend that they're not here. It's from the Danish author that the phrase says with that idiom to describe a situation that people are either afraid to point out or will not point out because of social pressure. The social pressure is Bensalem. I did some further information. I said, I'm going to do my homework because I am a teacher. So why is this occurring? It says road work disturbs rats. Why? Vibration. Heavy machinery shaking the ground scares rats out of their burrows. Destruction. Digging tears up the underground and the nest and breaks open the sewer lines. Noise. Loud jackhammers and drills disrupt the nocturnal resting cycles, forcing them away. And then, of course, flooding. We've had all this water. Fixing water mains can also push water into these dry pipes. So what do we expect? Well, they're going to go to another area where it's quiet, and where they have settled is right here in that area of Bensalem. And from what I heard, they're moving further. So this is not just going to be a certain area of Bensalem. This is growing. They look for easy food and shelter. I understand that. And I agree with everything that they're saying here, right? To avoid to have more of this rat population, we should be feeding the birds. We should be picking up after our dogs. We should be cleaning and making sure that we don't have sheds that have things that are broken down. We understand that. But these things existed before the construction and the road work that happened. All of this existed. People didn't pick up after their dogs. We can say that. People had sheds that they needed to be cleaned. People had bird feeders. Now, all of a sudden, we have a problem with rats. The reason is because of what has happened with the road work. Now, we can't sit here and say we shouldn't have road work. We do need to have road work. We do need to change the pipes and whatever else they were doing. However, what I heard from someone who was just standing up is that they didn't take the proper measures in order to stop. So that may be something that you could look at as far as the township to see what did they do to try to avoid these rats that existed underground. Also, excuse me just one second. So I also looked up, which was not to my delight, that water companies are generally not legally obliged to deter rats from scattering into private property during standard road work, unless it is a local law that is dictating it. So I guess the question is, do we have a local law that dictates that when they are doing the work, that they have to have some type of measures to try to stop any rats that they are disturbing and the nest from then coming up and then coming into the neighborhood? When I spoke to, because I've already gone to, because I'm a teacher, so I do my homework, I went to our representative. I went to the Board of Health and left a message, and she was kind enough, and probably it was the same woman that has been to the other houses. She's been great. She gave us the same kind of ideas, but she did state that, because I asked, well, aren't they responsible to a certain degree to try to deter these rats? And she said, yes, but it's hard to prove. So, I don't know if anyone who was stating that they knew that they did not put down the proper material in order to try to stop some of the rats from coming up. I don't know if anyone has pictures, video, if you have a house with a camera that you see it, because God knows, I thought like Rome really was developed faster than what they did with these roads. So maybe if we have some kind of videos that are on some of the houses that possibly can see it, but I think the bottom line is we're afraid. I know every single one of you sitting up here would not want to have rats in your backyard. Every single one of you up here would not want to have rats in your house. Every single one of you up here who have children and grandchildren do not want them to possibly be bit by a rat. And as a teacher, although I'm not with Bensalem, that is a serious problem if that school has infested with rats. That needs to be immediately, as a teacher, I'm not even talking about my house, immediately needs to be looked into. You have, I don't know how many children are at Valley School, but they go outside and play. And if the rats are being so brazen now that they just come out in daylight, we have a serious problem. So I guess what I'm basically saying is, what can you do as a township? Can you look into whether or not they did their due diligence, they being the water department? Did they do their due diligence on trying to keep the rats at least at bay? Because it certainly is not at bay, and I think all of you can say that. Last thing they said was to call 311, which is a non-emergency phone number used in many cities and counties, which I think many of us did. But this is life-threatening. It really is, if you think about it. That was appalling, whatever that woman said, about 40 rats in her backyard. Dear God. They carry disease. They can injure someone. I'm afraid. And we as taxpayers need to know that you're helping us. And this, I appreciate this because this will help kind of like deter the rats to a certain degree, but this is not the solution. It really isn't. We need your help. We need you to look, dig, find something, even to find them responsible, if they are responsible. And I can't imagine that they're not. Nothing else has changed other than all of the work that's been done. Please help us. Please look into Valley. As a teacher, I'm telling you, please look into Valley. There are way too many kids that are there that are going to go outside and play on those swings. It's your responsibility to protect the children. It's my responsibility to protect children. So I'm asking for you to do that first, but you need to look into it. Please do not push the paper aside and say, okay, we'll talk about this at a later date. This is a definite problem, and I appreciate every single one of you. Please think of yourself as having a home or having a child at Valley. And if you do that, you'll do the right thing. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I'm Tina Scott at 2467 Williamson. I don't want to repeat myself or, have everything repeated, but I'm just kind of looking for, in the future, I know they're working on Huonville Road. I see them digging. I know it's going to disrupt them. It's pretty bad. I mean, my bait boxes are empty. He comes out every 1 to 2 weeks, and he said, I can't believe it. Everything's gone. And then when they die, I have to move them, which, last time I picked them up, there were maggots everywhere. It's just awful. They're all different sizes, so there's a lot. And I don't want to take up too much of the time, but with them doing that other work, I wish that there was an idea or something proactive, because they're going to come out. And with other areas like Mayfair, they all have them. So, but thank you.
Okay, thank you. Real quick, first and foremost, I wouldn't want the rats in my backyard to answer that question. So I want our residents to know that their concerns have been heard and are being taken seriously. In response to these concerns, we have Mr. Farrell here this evening, and he can come up to the podium. I would ask him just to kind of speak if he doesn't mind here in a minute. I know the Mayor's administration has had members of Building and Planning visit the affected areas to identify conditions that may be contributing to the problem. As part of that effort, violation notices have been issued where inspectors identified issues such as overgrown grass, accumulated trash and debris, and property conditions that could potentially provide shelter or nesting areas. The Township Administration is also working with the Bucks County Board of Health to identify potential areas of concern and determine whether there are common nesting or harboring areas that may be contributing to the problem. And I know we have some folks from the Bucks County Department of Health here as well to speak to that. As you pointed out, at the same time, the Township has since provided some information and practical tools to help prevent rats from being attracted to their properties, including things such as proper trash storage, eliminating food sources, reducing areas where rodents can nest, and understanding safe and appropriate ways to address the activity on private property. I know it's frustrating and frightening for residents to deal with the situation. While there are limitations on what the township can do on private property, that doesn't mean that the problem should be ignored or that residents should be left to deal with it on their own. As a legislative body, we don't manage the departments or direct day-to-day administration. That's why I'll have Ken come up. We're here to listen to the residents, raise their concerns with the administration, and provide the support and resources necessary and when appropriate, and ensuring that the administration does what they can to try to address the issue. Ken, do you want to come up? We'll continue to work with the mayor and his administration to encourage a thorough response to the problem, which Ken here is here to kind of give a summary of it. And lastly, I just want to also note that someone pointed out it's going to be a joint effort. This is going to require a community effort. Residents have just an important role to play, but they should also expect that township government to respond when a problem affects an entire neighborhood. And I will tell you, council stands ready to support reasonable measures that can help address this issue. And as Ken can tell you, I was in there just this past week meeting with John and with the mayor on kind of talking about what's already been done. And I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Sure. Council, thank you. Solicitor Pizzo, thank you for the opportunity. Yes, we have, we've been working with the health department, and when we identified areas that have received a lot of complaints, we have sent out our staff to not only drive the area, but walk the area, walk the easements behind the houses. When we find properties that maybe the grass is a little bit higher that could harbor rodents like this, we sent out notices to say, hey, let's bring your property into compliant. There was one or two properties that had some property maintenance issues, and again, a lot of these are in the backyards. We've addressed that with them, and as one of the residents says, it seemed like a lot of the properties have been cleaned up. So we've been trying to do as much of that as we can. We've also gone to the shopping centers and gone behind the shopping centers to make sure that the trash and the dumpsters and everything are cleaned up as well. And if there is an infraction, we've been going back to the property owner, the store owner, and saying, hey, let's get this cleaned up. As with the apartment complexes, because I know that's always an issue, we generally, or we do that on the inspections because we have a full-time housing code inspector that goes to the apartments, and that is part of what he does is with the dumpsters, but we're making a special effort with that. And it was one of the apartment complexes that was swapping out the trash compactor for a dumpster and taking a little bit of time. So we got on them to make sure that happens sooner than later. So we do have all of those places, commercial and the apartments, in our crosshairs. The one thing that I did want to mention, and when the work on Pascalone was done, as standard protocol, our township engineer's office did have the pipe televised. So when that pipe was televised, there was no rodents, there was no evidence of rodents in the pipes. So a lot of it, I believe, is a misconception. But again, maybe the road work was, we don't know where they're coming from. And certainly, I don't know if anybody from the health department has an idea or not, but we certainly aren't sure, and that's why we're taking these other measures. But when the work was done, prior to the work being done, they always standard practice do the televising so they can see what they're dealing with, so that when the work starts, we can't have a contractor coming back and say, oh, that was a different situation than what, and trying to get extra money and stuff like that. So we do that as a standard protocol. And at that time, when it was televised, there was no evidence of rats or rodents or anything like that. So that's also a standard procedure for when any road work gets done. So we're continuing to work with the health department. We are going to these areas. Stephanie from the health department had told us there was one abandoned building in Eddington. So we went there, did our legal stuff that we have to. We're going to have Public Works out there to board up the building. And that happened to be a unique situation because the neighbors were taking care of the front, and there was a fence all around the property. So we didn't know what the backyard looked like, because when we drive by through Eddington, we see the front yard, it's manicured. There's a fence on either side, manicured from the two side neighbors. Had no idea what it looked like in the back. So now we found it. Now we're going to have Public Works out there, because the notice of violation just expired today. So we're going to have Public Works out there the next day to get that property cleaned up. And again, we're trying to chip away at this as much as we can to try to bring these properties up to compliance so that they don't have a problem with, harboring vermin and all that.
Thank you. Mr. Totmajian, just to expand a moment on what Mr. Farrell was saying. The township does have a full-time apartment complex inspector who is out to the apartment complexes on a daily basis. And so viewing the common areas, making sure that things are being properly maintained. And as he said, since the complaint started in July, the township has upped the inspections that those individuals are doing to make sure that the dumpster areas in the apartment complexes and the commercial shopping centers and businesses those areas are clean, and to the extent that they're in compliance with the township code. The other thing that the township does, the public may not be aware, is the township maintains a list of vacant properties in the township. And our inspectors routinely go out to make sure that the vacant properties, to the extent they're not township open space, which gets cut by Public Works, but to the extent they're private properties, township goes out, particularly in the summer months, to make sure that those are being properly maintained, that grass isn't getting high and overgrown, so that the ability for those properties to harbor any kinds of vermin is abrogated. But the public needs to understand also that when the township finds that a property has high grass, there's a process that we have to follow, which is the same as if it was any other private property. The township just can't go out and start cutting private land. The township has to issue a notice of violation to give the property owner a chance to abate the violation. We go out and re-inspect. If it's been taken care of, fine. If it hasn't, then the township has to issue a citation. Citation has to go through the DJ system. We have to get an order before we can go out and start to take matters into our own hands. It's unfortunate, but it is the law, and it applies to private property throughout the township. Township also maintains a list to the extent it's aware of abandoned properties, properties that may be under foreclosure. The properties owners have moved out. The bank now has the property. Again, once we become aware of those and they're on our list, inspectors are going out routinely to make sure that the buildings are secure, that the property isn't subject to high risk, because sometimes these banks or mortgage companies don't care. But usually if we observe it and notify those companies, the banks or the mortgage companies, they're usually pretty good at getting somebody out there to address the problem. The township does that as a routine practice, but again, all these things have been upped since the complaints of the rats coming from different neighborhoods in the township have increased. The last thing, as to Pasqualone, and Mr. Wersta or Ms. Khan might be able to speak to this more specifically than I can, but as Mr. Farrell said, at the outset of the job, and this was stormwater, this wasn't sewer, this was stormwater pipe, was televised and inspected. No indication that the pipes themselves were infested with rats. Township inspectors are on site as work is being done, and the contractors themselves are doing reports as work progresses. And there's nothing to indicate either from the township inspectors or from the inspection logs that were provided by the contractor that there was any indication that they encountered a rat nest, as will sometimes happen in these cases. But as I mentioned earlier, when we were discussing all the ARPA funds and all the projects that were done over the last couple of years, all of these projects didn't result in rat infestations in all the various neighborhoods throughout the township. It's in this one area of Springdale that seems to be the concentration. But the work on the Pasqualone job started in January or February of 2025, almost 18 months prior to this problem reaching the point that it's reached. And during that work from January or February through August of 2025, when the work was done, again, no indication that they encountered a rat nest or that there was evidence of rats coming up out of the trench or that they encountered any of this while the work was being done. So not precluding anything, but just letting you know that, again, the township, as it does on all of these jobs, is watching for just this sort of thing as the work's being done and progresses. So wanted to share that with all of you and share that with the public as well. And again, as you indicated, the Department of Health, they've been on the front lines with this. There are 3 representatives of the Department of Health with us here this evening, and they can certainly speak as to what it is they've been encountering, as well as what we should be doing as a community to address this problem.
I'd like to ask, you answered one of my questions, because typically on site civil drawings, there's typically there's typically standards put on the drawings for environmental protections, things like silk socks, scanning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Are we reviewing and making sure that those things are all being completed? Now, you said the scan's happening. Can we also make that a township code that it has to be done on any project that's public like that, or could that be a
That may
requirement?
already be part of the contract specifications. Again, the engineers can speak to that perhaps better than I.
We do that for every drainage.
It's in the contract specifications to have,
Well,
because I know environmental services.
No, before, as part of the design, we get looked through all the storm sewer pipes with TVs.
Yeah, I just know that sometimes they get overlooked or there's not enough, and that does happen.
And I should make a point. Storm sewer, it's not sewage.
Yeah.
And, there's nothing to eat in those things. They do there's conveyance of, you could walk through one if you're a rat, I suppose, but there's no food in there.
Typically, I mean,
Typically.
people throw trash in there, it
So-
could get
so
lodged
they-
at.
They need something that has food, and storm sewers are probably, the least likely is that. And we have not seen that, and we've done all those investigations.
Okay. My next one is, the properties that are in foreclosure or not there, we go take care of them. Are we putting liens on them homes?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Now, Ken, are you also checking that the areas that are easements, that we're doing our part on the easement areas?
Yeah,
that those
like I-
areas are being cut and maintained?
Yes, like I said, we not only drove to the neighborhoods, we walked behind the neighborhoods, because each resident is generally the easements are 4 feet, they're responsible for 2 feet and 2 feet. So when we find an area that is not cut or unkept, we notify them, and generally they will take care of it. If they don't take care of it, again, we go through the process, we'll have Public Works cut it if need be, but we don't let them get unsightly if we're able to.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Farrell. I know, Mr. President, that the Bucks County Department of Health is here. If there's anything else that
Thank
you
you.
feel needs to be added, thanks, Mr. Farrell. You're more than welcome. If not, it's okay too as well. Okay.
I just want to, it's Carol Tremini again, I just want to add to this. I disagree with what you're saying as far as when the project started. Maybe it started early 2025. That is when I stated that we started noticing holes in my yard. So it's very coincidental that it all occurred at the same time. Early spring last year, 2025, is when we started seeing holes under our fence. And come fall, that's when we noticed that there were rats. Rats are nocturnal technically, so you're not going to see them during the day. So I don't know what cameras would show looking into something. They're nocturnal. They're not around. They're not out during the day when it's light out. They're out when it's an infestation. That's when they come out during the day, when it's an infestation. So the timeline is perfect. They came from these pipes. There were many times every morning I drove past these guys working. They were off doing whatever they were doing, and those pipes were wide open. So you're going to tell me that they were standing right there? I never saw inspectors out there. I went by every single day, numerous times I went by. On my way to work, home, back again, back again. My husband works from home. My husband doesn't miss a trick. He sees everybody who walks by my house. He sees everybody in the easement. Hasn't seen anybody walk down the back of our easement, but yet we're the ones that have the problem back there. As far as what that gentleman said about what the cost, we're into hundreds of dollars right now to try to do this. I have no neighbors that are doing much of anything. They're cleaning up here and there, and that's about the extent of it. No, they have not put any traps down. They have not tried anything. I am several $100s into this. We had to go buy rocks and put rocks down the entire side of my yard to stop them from coming in from my neighbor's yard next door, but they claim they don't have them over there. So the timeline is perfect, so I just want to say I totally disagree with what you're saying about the timeline, that they didn't come from there. That's where they came from. We didn't have rats back there. Again, I've lived back there 41 years. Never in my life have I had rats. Mice, maybe. I don't have a problem with mice. Mice come, mice go. We don't have mice back there anymore because we have rats back there. Once the rats show up, the mice go away. So timeline is perfect. I have a grandchild who plays back there. I have a dog back there. I go out there at night, they're running in front of me. So,
Ken, if there's any additional reports, the email that residents can reach out to your department?
It's on the website.
It's on the website, okay. So if you do foresee any issues, if you happen to come across some sort of infestation, if there's something within easement property, please reach out to Building and Planning. Their contact information is on the website.
Yes, absolutely. And if there are areas that we need to look at so we can send notice of violations out, we will do that as well.
Yep,
Can you, since obviously this is going to have to be a collaborated effort, can we send notification out via mail that the letter that was conveniently showed up today in front of the meeting out to all the residents of Springdale so they know what's going on? So maybe they take a little more action. So it sounds like some members know, some
Yes,
members don't, some members here, some member here had them, some don't, some are taken care of, some aren't. So if we send a letter out or, post it in the neighborhood so more people are aware of the situation.
I'll work with administration to figure out how we're going to do that, but yes, we can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I had that as a follow-up, potentially looking at somehow increasing that advertising specific in that neighborhood. So, and then the second follow-up is, I think we'll have to reach out to Valley, the school district.
I will call Mr. Curry tomorrow.
Okay.
He's a facilities manager.
Okay.
And just ask him is there a problem?
Yep.
What is the problem?
Yep.
How can they address it? I already wrote it on my list of things to do for tomorrow, so I'll
Okay.
reach out to him tomorrow morning.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
As Mr. Technasian, truly the front line on this battle is the Board of Health, and perhaps...
Yeah, that's fine, please. Yep.
Good evening, everybody. Can you all hear me okay? So I'm Ray Buckley with the Bucks County Department of Health. I'm one of the supervisors in our environmental division. We also have Stephen Bobbs, he's in our Levittown office, and Stephanie English, who's been our boots on the ground for this entire process as we receive complaints. She's probably seen some of you here. You've invited her into your home. The easement aspect, I'd like to discuss more. That would help with our inspection process. We can't just go onto people's properties without their permission, but if there's an easement, we're able to see these things. That would kind of speed things along for us. So we'll talk after the meeting, after this. What I wanted to touch on is our complaint process and what we're able to investigate. So for us, we have to receive something in writing. Generally, it's what's going on, who you are. We keep things anonymous, mainly because we're dealing with neighborly disputes. So you might have gotten along with your neighbor for the last 40 years, and you don't want to, lack of a better term, rat them out. So, I know, it's terrible. From there, once we receive that, Stephanie may make contact with you or another person from our department to gain access to see what's going on out there. Most of our regulation is for exterior property maintenance. And that's looking for harborage sources, water sources, and food sources, which is the information we've been talking about all night, removing dog feces and bird seed and cat holes and everything like that. We all know that. But that's kind of the extent of the Bucks County Department of Health's reach here. Without you telling us of where some of these things are, our resources are kind of limited. So we have to focus in on specific properties rather than a neighborhood multi-street wide investigation. We just don't have the resources for that. So we rely on you to reach out to us and say, this person on, not to out anybody, Williamson Court, they've left all of their trash out in the backyard. Everybody's front yard looks great, but we can't get to some of those backyards. So if you can tell us, then we can help you a little faster. If we go out there and we see that property is not doing what we're asking them, which is clean it up, remove those resources, we have similar enforcement as Bensalem. We would issue an order letter saying clean it up in a certain amount of time, and if that doesn't happen, then we have to go to the district court. From there, hopefully there's enough leverage there for the property owner to put that money to cleaning up the property, rather than them paying the court or the department a fine in that sense. So that's really our process. I can take questions after the fact if you'd like, or answer anything you might have.
Will you stick around, so this way the residents after this meeting can speak to you? And then one other quick question, how do they reach you and contact you?
Sure. I have some business cards tonight, so does Stephanie as well.
Okay, in terms of folks that might not be here, is there a website, contact information on that website?
Yeah, Bucks County Department of Health, if you just Google it, my name is Raymond Buckley with the Vector Control Program Coordinator. It's pretty easy to find.
Great.
So I can give you my direct line. It's 215-345-3333. So
Great, all right.
give me a call anytime.
Mr.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Mr. Buckley,
Yes.
when we had our Zoom last week to discuss this, you had suggested that there might be some benefit rather than the neighbors each dealing with a separate exterminator and dealing with this piecemeal, perhaps pooling together and finding an exterminator perhaps that's experienced in dealing with larger complexes because as you're saying, and as the residents are saying, if the next door neighbors, the rats are coming from the next door neighbor's yard, the rats are coming from the next door neighbor's yard. And if that resident is paying for an exterminator to do something, but it's not happening next door, then you're, to a certain extent, pushing a rock uphill.
That's right, yeah. So rats are fairly smart, so if you introduce something into their neighborhood, they're going to probably stay away from it for a little bit. Like if somebody put something in your house, you would assume that's a mystery item. You're not going to bother until you kind of get used to it. So with hiring multiple different pest control companies, they're sort of competing against each other. So hiring one unified company to handle a few properties in a neighborhood would be the best approach to handling something like that.
The phrase you used was coordinated pest control?
Correct. Yep. Now, I know you just mentioned some mass messaging out to the neighborhood. That might also be incorporated into something like that. I can't give any specific companies who can perform those services, but there certainly are ones out there and available that would be able to be contacted.
And following our meeting last week, the paperwork that's here in the council tonight, that was at your recommendation that we provide that to the community. That's going out on social media if it isn't already, on the township webpage, and as is it being suggested by council this evening, perhaps mailing directly to the households in that neighborhood as well. So the education is just as important. Taking in the bird feeders, getting up the dog and cat feces, whatever it might be, is a key to helping abate this problem, correct?
That's correct. That'll help prevention, but eventually you need some type of additional control, which is extermination. Trapping, I know somebody had mentioned here they were trapping and releasing. Personally, that's not going to resolve the issue. So you need to stop the life cycle process of these rats reproducing. That would ultimately be the effective approach.
And lastly, when we met last week, I think Stephanie had indicated, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that the Board of Health had received 6 rat complaints up to mid-July for the township, and that since mid-July, that number has gone up significantly. We're now into 16, 18, something like that. But the complaints started multiplying and growing that you were receiving in mid-July of this year, correct?
We did receive some additional complaints. I think with a neighborhood becoming more aware of things, that was expected. We certainly get rat complaints all throughout Bucks County, including Bensalem Township each year. This may be a peak year, hopefully not. But by having this information out there, a coordinated effort, I think we'll start to see less as long as those prevention approaches are being taken.
Thank you.
We have had some email communications, and you were able to provide stuff relatively quickly. I'd like to thank you for responding as quickly as you can. My question is, when somebody reports it, do you automatically report it to building and planning as well, or do you guys try to handle it first and then go to building planning? What's this?
Sure. I think discussing with Ken, there's some coordination on where our reach would be and where building and planning would be.
Okay.
A lot of things do overlap, but there's sometimes some things Bensalem are able to handle that we just don't have the regulatory authority to oversee.
Okay, yeah, because, I just asked for some list, you came really quickly with there, and then there was another instance in Eddington, you came quick with that one too, and Ken has been working on the one on Eddington, because it's predominantly vacant homes that are bank-owned, so that is something that could potentially be a main source in some of these areas that we're not aware of. But thank you very much for everything you're doing.
I can't take credit for all that. That's all Stephanie English back there. So again, she's boots on the ground. So thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Certainly appreciate the cooperation and the response here with Bensalem Township.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And that is the case, council. When Stephanie issues a written notice or whatever, Ken's office is made aware, There is coordination back and forth. Again, in years past, where this hasn't really been a problem, we haven't needed the kind of coordination that we're now finding ourselves in, because, again, this uptick, if you will, this increase in what we're seeing is an anomaly, at least in all the years that I've been representing the township. This is the first time in 30 years that I've been sitting here that we're having this discussion. So.
Understood. Thank you. We'll continue with public comment thank you so much for your patience since we started with the rats.
That was not very much fun, was it? I'm Diane Bilda, 2811 Marion Avenue, my neighbor.
Lori, 2819 Marion Ave.
We just wanted to make sure the council is aware that we are working with people from
Public Works.
Public Works.
Brian.
Brian came out.
Nicole, Brian came out, and he actually came out when we had rain on Wednesday, and he saw firsthand that I have Lakeview property, which I don't want. If I want that, I'd rather go to a beach.
You saw which outlets were backing up?
Yes, he saw everything as far as like our drains, our pipes cannot handle this rain. And that's why I have flooding constantly in my house. So he saw it firsthand. He walked on my property. He knows what's going on. He came out with an engineer, Bill. I thought that was you.
He's been
So I've sent Bill videos for the last 3 years. I could send a whole bunch more since 2021 because the problem started in 2021. And that's when we've had such bad rain from 2021. Prior to that, no, we didn't have a problem. But it's the rainfall, and these pipes and these drains cannot handle it. He saw firsthand. They're this deep. What is that going to do with all the water that comes down? It's going to come in my house. You can ask him. I have quick dam bags at my door. I've sealed up my door. I'm waiting for a floodgate to come in my door now that I've spent $1,038 on. Not including the $50,000 I've already spent since 2021, which I shouldn't have to. I have a bed that sits 33.5 inches off the floor, so I don't lose another bed. These drains and pipes need to be fixed. And please, make sure that they contain the rats, because I don't need that problem either. I certainly don't want that problem.
Don't send them down, we have enough.
And I don't care if you got to get on my property, tear it up, tear up the street. I don't care. It just has to be fixed.
I'm happy to tell you that the mayor, one of the things the mayor wanted to make you aware of is the property at 2822 Eddington Avenue. Public Works was out today, got permission of the property owners to go on the property and turn this into this.
Thank God, because I mean, I even dug up my backyard because their foundation was 1.5 feet. Mine was lower, 1.5 feet lower. The water can't flow. It can't get to that drain. But I brought that to the township. It was Quentin. And he told me that the township did not own that drain. He said, my neighbor put it in. I contacted that neighbor. She said, no, I didn't. It's been there for as long as I've been here.
Well, Brian and his team went out this morning.
Brian is wonderful. Brian, when I saw Brian out there on Wednesday, I couldn't thank him enough. And I told him I was going to praise him at this meeting because Brian is a wonderful guy and he knows the problem. He saw it firsthand. And Bill told me, send the videos because he wanted to show Nicole. So they knew what was going on because it's just, exactly. It needs to be fixed. My backyard does not look like that. Mine is all clean and Bill can attest to that. I cut all those bushes back because all of it's growing on my property.
And that'll be the next step. Bill and the engineers now will have an opportunity to, just we were talking about, televising, seeing what's going on upstream, so.
Okay. Thank you. And we recognize there's other areas of need across this township, and that's why we've already started discussion with the administration, the mayor, about trying to address additional stormwater
Yeah,
issues.
especially with the grant that's out there, that's billions
Well,
of dollars that we hear that gets returned in December. Well,
Yep.
let's get the ball rolling so
Yep.
we don't have to send it back.
Again, had the author of that article spoken to the township,
Yep.
as I indicated earlier, that money's been spent.
Right.
The projects had to be identified by the end of 2024 and had to be completed by the end of 2025. And $9.8 million worth of drainage work was done throughout this township using those funds in 2024 and 2025.
Well, can someone tell me what the $56,000 was spent on Marion Ave? Because I never saw anything happen.
I can't, but...
It didn't happen.
Mr. Tchaikovsky is on a well-deserved vacation, but when he returns, he can tell you how that money was
I'd like to know
spent.
what that $56,000 was spent on.
It might have been the curbs.
I mean, but the curbs did nothing. What did they do?
We can follow up with him on that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we'll do.
We appreciate it, just
All right.
keep us on your list. And then you-
Absolutely, we'll do. Yep.
Thank you.
So, Tony, and I just have a question. You've mentioned through the rat problem and through the water problem that there is, you know, they have a policy or a procedure to go through when you can't step on private property. Is there a tracking or somewhere we can see of that tracking? Because if somebody's reporting a home, that something's being done to be cited. So as if my situation or our situation, we've reported 2201 Street Road multiple times. Where's the tracking to know that that went through all the way through citation to the township actually going on the private property to fix it?
In terms of releasing records regarding private property, to the extent that it involves the Building and Planning Department, you would submit a right-to-know request to the township, and depending on the status of the whatever the complaint might be, once the complaint is done and it's closed out, it becomes a public record. Prior to that, because it's still under...
So we would see the process on that right to know?
Yes.
What
Well,
gives you the right to know?
You'd see what was issued and what the, whether the township took it to court or not.
What is the right to know? Why would I have a right to know?
It's a state law.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'll look it up.
Because we're public government, you can
The
submit a request.
forms
to
are
get
on the
that
township website.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? I would just ask, ma'am, do you have any other comment? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Can I?
Yeah, please. Well, I just need your name and address.
My name is Heidi Dia. I live in 2033 Hampson Drive. I was here last month with my other neighbors as well, asking for solution regarding that we are keep getting water in the house. I've been getting it more now than Tasha. I got it that Monday, and thank God they was home to help me out and clean it out, because lucky I was off. But this is what I came here to say. It's just a quote, and I hope you guys understand what I'm gonna say and forget my language if sometime I can become aggressive, but it's just frustration, honestly. Every time I come here to the township, I wish leaving here from that door with hope, because hope should be the last thing that a human being can lose. And I'm pretty sure all of you here agree that all we want is hope and solution. We want answer, and every time we come here, we asking for questions and asking for answer, and I don't feel like we get the right answer. I don't feel that we get the right plan. 2 weeks ago, this lady right here, she was supposed to come to my house and show me her plan. Unfortunately, I had an emergency with my mother-in-law. 5 minutes later, I had to run, and she was just coming to my house. We sent her a text message, but I'm still waiting for her answer for my text message. So every time we come here, I feel like I'm wasting my time. It shouldn't be like that, honestly. It should be that I get answer, and not just me, everybody else here should get answer and get solution. That's all I gotta say. I'm just hope that I don't lose the hope on you guys. Please do something about it.
So as you see, she's here this evening.
I can see
And
her.
she provided us an update, and we'll hold them accountable.
2
to
weeks,
make-
right?
Is the
We'll
water?
hold
from
them-
now.
We'll hold them accountable to making sure that that work gets done. But at least this way,
I know you.
but you showed,
I know you do have the
okay,
text
hold,
message, but
hold.
you haven't
All
replied
right, hold on,
back.
hold on. Let me handle, hold on. She presented what's happening, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You were here at the last meeting.
Yep.
We made a lot of progress. We should have it designed, finalized within the next week or so. And at some point over the next month, we'll start the work of trying to at least mitigate some of it. We understand that's not the complete fix, but as you can see at least, that we're making progress.
Thank you.
Okay,
I just hope we get something.
Understood.
Work on this.
we heard you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just asked to take if you guys don't mind, if there's any additional outside discussion? Okay. Any other public comment? Yep, absolutely, no problem, Deb. Seeing no one else come forward for public comment, I'll close the portion of public comments. I'll move to agenda number 9, the other business. Deb, did you have anything besides staying after, make sure we sign? Okay, Mr. Worston. Okay. And Mr. Knowles.
No, I'm just glad that people had a chance to come out and express their thing. I think we had some resolution, and we have also some a plan to move forward on some of these things. That's
Yep.
all. Thank you.
Understood, thank you. Mr. Wentz?
Yeah, I have a few minor things. Since we've been up here since January, we've been trying to get a meeting with PennDOT to address some of the situations in the township. It took a little while, but we finally had a meeting. Ed will elaborate on a little bit more, just to touch on a few things. Humanville Road, after Aqua's done, is supposed to start in late fall. They just reached out to me today. So late fall, Humanville Road, after Aqua's done, they're going to be repaving that area. And we had some headway on Station Ave and State Road. So we are really trying here. When we had this meeting, they were shocked. They didn't know a lot of things that were happening. It's very strange that, some of them said that we didn't know this was going on, where everybody in, the world knows this is going on. This is their words. This isn't my words. This isn't anyone else's words. This is PennDOT. There was about 25 people on the call. So, we're really trying here to get to the bottom of some of these things, especially on state issues. So I'll hand it over.
Since Mr. Wenzel started out on that issue, I'll, if you don't mind. All right. Council, since I know a number of the members were not part of that call, I just wanted to take a few minutes to report back and just be transparent to the public about the recent call that we did have that Mr. Wenzel referred to. Thanking Mr. Wenzel for coordinating the call. The video call was held this past Friday, August 7th. Councilman Wenzel and I participated on behalf of council. Representing the township were Mr. Chakowski, the Director of Admin, Mr. Guay from Public Works, Mr. Paizo, our solicitor, and the mayor. There were also a number of officials participating from PennDOT, the state's legislative affairs team, and Bucks County Maintenance. And overall, I thought the call was extremely productive. Mr. Chakowski and Mr. Guay provided PennDOT with an overview of the flooding issues down on Station Ave that we've been experiencing and the impact it has had on Bensalem. One significant concern that was raised was the documented water that was coming off of I-95 and exacerbating the flooding conditions on Station Ave. PennDOT agreed to take a closer look at that drainage coming off of 95. They also agreed to send representatives to Station Ave to conduct a more detailed assessment of the overall flooding problem. We also discussed the ongoing renovation at the Cornwalls Heights train station, and PennDOT also agreed to take the flooding concerns into consideration as it evaluates the permit application associated with the project. The discussion ultimately identified 2 potential paths forward. The first is a shorter-term solution that we're looking at now, including the possibility of utilizing or applying for a multimodal transportation grant to help fund some of those improvements. The second is a longer-term, more permanent solution that we're working to have added to PennDOT's transportation improvement program, or what they call sometimes as the TIP list. I also want to make clear that we'll be reaching out to our local state representative and state senator to ask for their support in moving this forward, and I believe it's time for us to elevate the issue with our state elected leaders. This has been an ongoing problem in our community far too long, and we need a meaningful solution. And every time Station Ave floods, we put our police officers, our firefighters, and other emergency personnel in potentially dangerous situations while they respond to these conditions. I believe Friday's call was an important first step because we were able to bring this issue directly to state officials and make clear that this is no longer going to be simply a recurring inconvenience. It's a serious public safety issue as well as an infrastructure issue that requires a solution. Lastly, we certainly appreciate PennDOT's willingness to engage with us, and now we just need to continue to ensure that progress is made, similar to Hansel Road, and that this issue moves from discussion to action. Mr. Pizzo, did I capture that? Is there anything else that you wanted to add to that?
No, I think that's an accurate portrayal, Mr. Tognagian. You may or may not be aware, Mr. Chakowski did follow up following that Zoom, questioning PennDOT. As you said, PennDOT put it into the township's lap for the short-term fix through multimodal grants to put up the gates, and following some further discussion, the administration threw it back to PennDOT to say, this is a state highway, and it's a state problem. Why is it for the township to spend $250,000, $500,000 for a temporary solution? So we'll see what comes back in that regard.
Okay.
And as you know, to the extent that they said putting something on the tip,
we're 12
tip
years.
is 12 years, if
12
we're
years.
lucky. Bristol
Right.
Road was on the tip when I first became solicitor, and they finally got to that project within just the last couple of years. So that was on the tip for the better part of 2 decades.
Yep, thank you. I wanted to make sure we summarized it simply because I know it came up at one of our prior meetings. So I wanted to be transparent in terms of the results of that call, and in addition to some of our other council members that were not on that call. So, thank you. I don't really have anything else. I'll turn, Mr. Pizzo, do you have anything?
I do not, other than, for those who aren't aware, the mayor had a particularly difficult month of July. Both his sister and his sister-in-law passed away. So he had 2 funerals that were, of incredible significance. This evening, his granddaughter, it's her 20th birthday. The whole family was going out for dinner prior to this evening's meeting. So he was hopeful that he'd get back, but since it was a light agenda, he's spending some well-deserved time with his family, celebrating a joyous occasion. So he just wanted me to pass that along.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kiselbeck.
Yes, I'd like to thank the Health Department for coming out and addressing this issue so we can get a different perspective of really what's happening. I mean, we've been certainly dealing with it for several years, and we're trying our best, but we appreciate everything you're doing for us, too. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you. And Mr. Sloan.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that thank you to the members from the Health Department coming out and helping us with this issue. Thank you to Mr. Farrell, Ms. Khan, for also addressing some of these flooding and permanent issues. This really is a community effort, so grateful that we have everybody here looking out for the residents and doing what we can. Also, just a public safety announcement. It is back to school season. School's starting up in just a couple weeks. Some students are already back at school for activities and things like that, so motorists, please be careful out there. Once school buses start being out there on the road, please pay attention. Speed limits, stop signs, all of the warning signs, and let's keep our kids safe.
Great point. Okay, thank you very much. With that said, Mr. Pizzo.
I was just going to, as a corollary to what Mr. Sloan's saying, anytime there are students in the schools, the flashers may be on. So everybody's thinking, well, school isn't open again. Why is it the flasher on? I'll ignore it. No, if the flashers are on, that means that there are students of some number in the schools, so do heed them when they're on.
Yep, yep. And there is a reminder, we have cameras in those buses now too as well. So, okay, that said, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, a second? Okay, and we're adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone.